Hi there, welcome to What Series 15 and I think we're up to number 24. And this is all about Jacob wrestling with God. It says in verse 24 of Genesis 32, then Jacob was left alone and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of day. Now when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him. Wow. This is a bit weird. Man wrestling with Jacob, but he was alone. Did you get that right in the very first part? Realistically speaking, he wasn't just wrestling a man. Jacob would have known and would have been happy to have been left alone, but God wanted something from him. God wanted the sacrifice of all Jacob's proud self-reliance and his fleshly scheming. And God came to take these by force if necessary. It does not say that he wrestled with the man, but there wrestled a man with him. Now that's really weird, strange wording. We call him wrestling Jacob. So he was, and he mustn't be forgotten that he's the man doing the wrestling. But on top of that too, we also must realise that this person wrestling was God. Now, we might make the assumption that this wrestling person was probably Jesus before he was born. Now, that's another concept which is really, really tricky to take on board. Maybe we'll look at that another day. But the man wrestled with him. As the following verses show, this is no mere man, and there is a special appearance here, I think, of Jesus in the Old Testament before his incarnation. This was God in human form. And I suppose that the Lord Jesus did here, as he did on many occasions, assume a human form and came to wrestle with the patriarch for a purpose. Remember that. He came to do this for a purpose. Notice that too, they wrestled all night until the breaking of day. Now, modern readers can only imagine what this scene looked like, and perhaps it looked like a bit of a street fight, and perhaps at other times it was looking like an intense wrestling match. Although even in our culture, we don't have a lot of wrestling, or our wrestling is, is quite bizarre comparatively to this, I'd say. But how did Jacob even manage to keep up with this struggle throughout the night? And I don't have an answer to that, by the way. I don't know how fit he was, whether he was a sort of super athlete or something, but he's wrestling with God. He's wrestling with God, and he thinks he can beat this person. He thinks that he can overcome this amazing wrestler, this amazing person. And it was brave of Jacob to wrestle. But there was too much of himself about it, wasn't there? It was his own self-sufficiency that he was wrestling this person. Now, was he totally aware that this person was God? We don't exactly know when it dawned on him or when it happened. We don't get it. But we know, we read that into it, we understand. He saw that he didn't prevail against him. As the fight progressed, it seemed that Jacob was somewhat unevenly matched against this man, but the match was only evenly matched in appearance. The man could have won easily at any time, perhaps, with supernatural power. But sometimes it seems that the man really can contend with God. Sometimes when we're praying and we're saying, God, I really want you to do this. Is that the kind of concept that we need to have? A man or woman in rebellion against God might seem to do well for a season. The match seems, even in appearances, to be going the way of Jacob or us. God can turn the tide at any moment. He allows the match to go on for his own purposes. And it isn't hard to imagine Jacob working so hard and feeling he's getting the best of his opponent until finally the man changed the nature of the struggle in a moment. Did you notice that? Jacob must have felt drained and defeated, because in verse 26, it goes, bang, he touched his hip and it changes. And Jacob, in verse 26, he goes, Jacob's plea to the man, he said, let me go, for the day breaks. But he said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. This is a bit audacious, isn't it? Let me go as the day breaks. The man let Jacob know his struggle would not last forever. Even though Jacob clung to him desperately. Jacob had lost, but he didn't want to admit it. He was a better man that had defeated Jacob. This is an invaluable place for everybody to come to, where God conquers us. There is something to be said for every man doing this wrestling with God, then acknowledging God's greatness after having been defeated, because that's the only logical outcome. We must know we serve a God who is greater than us, and we cannot conquer him. We cannot change his mind. We cannot bend him to our will. He will conquer us.